Hello, everybody, and welcome back after the lunch break. We hope you enjoyed your lunch, and if you're still sipping that coffee next to your computer, then that is okay. Because the next session now will tackle questions and answers to frequently asked questions about Power BI report competition. Aivis at the start will go again through all of the technical details, and then you will be able to use the opportunity to ask questions live, free of charge consultation about how to implement the analysis the best way. Without any further ado, I give the floor to Aivis, and this is a live session, live Q&A, so if anything, then please use on the right side of the screen to ask questions. Aivis, it's yours.
All right. Hi, everyone. Is the sound okay? Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So what I quickly wanted to do before we jump into it is kind of recap on the competition itself. So just in case you have any further on questions, don't hesitate, drop them in the question bar, and we're going to go through them. But just as an overview, so a quick timeline, right? So we started out on May 19th, and the submission deadline for your reports is May 30. So at 12 p.m. Riga time, the submission process is going to end. And if you don't have a submission done by then you unfortunately will not be able to submit your report afterwards. On June 3rd, we're going to launch the first top 10 report grid, the best reports for public voting. So that's the moment where you, for the first time, are going to see actually those top 10 reports which have been created throughout this competition. And on the June 5th, we have the awarding ceremony. Just a quick recap. Submission requirements is that the report is a PBIX file. It can contain multiple chip pages, but no more than 5 pages. There's at least one drill down visual on every page. Of course, the data is non-sensitive. Aldis had amazing sessions about anonymizing data and how to desensify it, so make sure to check those out. Of course, also as part of the submission, you have a recorded 5-minute video explaining the report, how to use it, what's the use case, what's the problem situation that you're covering with this. And please remember that you do need to create both desktop and mobile views for your reports. So just make sure that you have both of them available. And report file must not exceed 15 megabytes. In most cases, that should be completely fine, unless you're going with terabytes of information. So how to get started? Actually, let's go out of the presentation and let's open up the web page. So in order to get the contest PBIX or the visuals, what you need to do is log into your account with which you sign up for the competition. There you go. And here you have a welcoming message which says that here are a couple of ways on how you need to do it. One thing you're probably going to notice here that there's this random email and random password right here. It's not your email, right? This is the account name specifically created for the report competition itself. The reason why we created these accounts is because for the ease of transferring the visual files for the Power BI, they're all being stored within the organizational tab. So it's just much easier for you to get them. You don't have to go through various versions or anything like that. Every single user who is using the account is going to have the same version of the visuals available. So in order to kind of go through these steps, all you have to do is first download the contest PBIX file. Here we go, we did that. Now I'm going to open it up. Just giving it a second to load in. So there we go. And you can see I'm being prompted with this sign up page. If you're already using your own Power BI account, please do log out. And one thing I recommend you to do also before signing into the other account is reopen the Power BI desktop file. Because if you just log out and log in, it's going to take the cache from your previous account. So for example, if you were using some organizational visuals or anything like that in the background, those items could still be cached. So just, sign out, restart the contest PBIX file. So once you have this window right here, I'm going to Alt-Tab back to the browser, copy my email. There you go. And for the password, one point is that if you have at least once signed in successfully, you were prompted with the password change request. So in my case as well, I already have changed the password. So I'm just typing in that password. I'm signing in, closing the window, Power BI. Will you do this to me? Because I can see I'm logged in. Oh, it's now loading up. So as you can see, as soon as I logged in, the Power BI file itself is loading up the visuals from the organizational tab. So we're just going to give it a couple of minutes or two to just load in everything afterwards. And we're also going to go through the scenario, but for example, for some reason, these visuals do not load in the PBIX file automatically. Because don't worry, all of you do have still them available through the organizational tab. And for those of you who are not maybe that familiar with it, I'm going to go through it. Trust me, it's really simple. It's the same almost process as adding visual from the app source. So we're just giving a couple of minutes for this to go through. In the meanwhile, let's go to the presentation, see if there was anything else I wanted to cover. This one here. So the next part is once you actually have created your Power BI file for the submission, you need to go through the submission process, right? The submission process has not yet been enabled. The submission process is going to start probably from tomorrow afternoon. So on your account page, right here, you're going to have a button submit your application. So once you click on that, this is kind of design concept of what's it going to be like. So you're going to have your upload for PBIX file, your link to YouTube or Vimeo, whichever platform you want to use for that, and also published web URL for the report. Because remember, it doesn't, we don't only need the PBIX file itself, we also need the publicly accessible link for easy sharing between the judges. Once you add all the information, this is kind of the view for the uploading. So you can actually see the percentage that the upload is, running everything in the background. Once you're reading through that, you're going to see this one right here. You can change the application itself because remember, the final submission is the one that we are going to take for the contest. So if you have submitted multiple reports, the final one is the one that we are going to take for the evaluation. And once you're completely fine with it, you don't want to kind of change anything afterwards, you can go ahead and click submit. Once you click on it, there's going to be a pop-up window just informing you that thanks for submitting your application has been successfully received. And a little bit about the scoring criteria again. So these are the main 5 criteria that the reports are going to be scored upon. So how well the solution was presented in the video, how well the problem is solved, how easy it is to understand, how easy it was to use also, not just understand, and how did the actual users like the design of the report? Was everything understandable? Were there anything that you felt that could be improved upon or things like that? If you want to learn more about these points in depth, you can always do that just by going to the website. Click here on the competition tab. And right here, you have an overview of the competition requirements. Once you click on that, we can open up a PDF file. If we scroll down to paragraph 9 right here, and 9.62 are scoring criteria. So you can see, for example, how well the solution is presented in videos, and here are underscoring points, so from which these valuations actually come from. So feel free to get more, familiar with them to make sure that the report and all the points that are being covered have been covered in your reports in one way or another, or at least if you haven't covered them, you'll know why, for example, the valuation was so low or something like that. Now let's quickly check the PBIX file. Did it manage to finally recover? Okay, I have one visual, happens. So like I mentioned, even though you don't have all the visuals right here, don't worry. You can easily add them through the organizational tab. So what you need to do here is click on the ellipsis, then get more visuals. And right here, click on my organization. And as you can see here, for your convenience, we just added all the visuals that we do offer, so you can easily add them. And the greatest benefit about this is that these are the latest development versions. So everything we have just released in a day or two, or things that we are still working on, are available as a preview feature with these visuals right here. That's kind of what I wanted to quickly cover. Let's see if we already have any questions. So I'm just going to open up Teams right here.
There is a question, yes.
Sure. So do we start a new report, or is it possible to amend an old report with some improvements to it? Sure, you can use old reports if that's what you want to do. Just remember that you need to improve it a little bit with our visuals if you haven't done it. And the other thing is please make sure, and I cannot stress this enough, please make sure that it is not using any sensitive data. There's no employee names of yours or anything like that. Just desensify everything so you don't get into trouble afterwards. Let's say it like that. All right. Afterwards, what else do we have here? Let's open up file. Let's actually open up one Power BI file and go through one of the cases that I've received mostly in my inbox on how to do. Let's just go here. Let's open up the base report for this. Oh, different visual versions. Happens as well. All right, I'm gonna add a new page. So one of the most kind of questions that I've had in my inbox is how to stack, for example, a combo visual, right? And even small things like these, don't hesitate, drop me an email or drop an email to support team. We're gonna back to you as soon as possible. So in order to create a stacked visual, all you really need to do is make sure that you have your category, for example. In this case, I'm actually gonna go for 2 categories. So I'm gonna go for sales rep, and I'm also going to go for region. Actually, region is going to be my first, so better drill down. And then I'm going to be using 2 series. So actually not total sales in this case, not going to be great. I'm going to go for small deals, and I'm going to go for medium deals. So, and this is kind of the default experience, right? So you get 2 columns that are right next to each other. Now, in order to stack them, all you need to do is go into the formatting options. And here you can see series 1 and series 2. In order to put one of them on top of each other, make sure that if you open up series configuration, scroll down a little bit, and here you have a setting called stack. Just make sure that both of the series are using the same stack number. So for example, by default, what's happening is each series have their own stack number. So series 1 is stack 1, series 2 is stack 2, and so forth. And now I can see that I'm using series 1 because it's on stack 1. In order to stack them on top of each other, I'm putting this on stack 2, and there you go. That's how easy it is to kind of create a stack option for the visual. And you can see, for example, if I click on EMEA, you can see I can drill down, I can still explore everything. And that's kind of one of the added benefits of that series-specific approach that we have taken with the visuals. We allow you to customize it further on and have the same hierarchical principle even with all the drill downs. So, for example, right here, one thing that's commonly noticed as well is that the y-axis doesn't look really great initially. Sure, I agree with that, but that's because we're trying to use an automatic aggregation, and not in all instances it works perfectly. So what I just recommend you to do is play around with the visuals, see what kind of aggregations you have there. So for example, on the first level, let's say that this would be the only level I have. So what I would do is I would open up primary y-axis. I would go lower here in display options. I would say I want to choose millions, and for value decimals, 2 numbers. There you go. This one looks a lot better. So these kind of small things is what you can really start to play around. All right, we have a couple more questions. So should we include desktop and mobile views within one report? Yes. So essentially, when you're creating your report, you have 2 options right here. So you have your desktop view and you have your phone view. So for example, if I create multiple instances, let's just create some random visuals, right? I'm going to add some cards, for example. Let's say total sales in this case. There you go. What else I'm going to add? I'm going to copy the same visual, but for this one, I'm going to use profits. There you go. Even with these 3 visuals. So this is kind of my landscape view. The desktop view, and if I click on view, phone layout, you can see that all the visuals that I created are right here. So all I need to do in the phone view is essentially click on them, drag them in, and position them wherever I want them to be. This is one way of creating the mobile view. Another way on how you can create mobile views is by, interacting and changing the page sizes themselves. So, but that kind of comes with some limitations as well, because for example, what we have done previously in our reports is we could utilize the built-in option to kind of go to the phone layouts, but we also utilize an option where we create a separate page, We go into the formatting options of the page. We adjust the size to make sure that it's relatively okay for portrait modes, for phones, for iPhones, things like that. And then we have a page, a bookmark, or let's call it a button within the report that just allows you to switch to a different page. So that's kind of one of the drawbacks to creating that as a page. But the added benefits of it is it's a lot easier to kind of modify these small nuances between the visuals, to kind of resize them and things like that. Because once you're in this phone layout, you kind of always have to remember that, let's just go back here, that you have this certain grid in the background. So you can't say, for example, like here, see, I have it in the middle of both grids, but if I release it, it's going to go either on the one way or another. So you're stick to that grid loop. I don't know about mobile views. Aldis, maybe you have anything to comment, maybe some of the practices that you come across.
Yeah, try to keep quite simple with mobile view. So not trying to put all you have in report view in mobile view. So it's okay to have less in mobile view. That's a general comment. And remember that this is a small screen, rather small screen. It means that it should be like quite large. Don't use small things like small. Try to use bigger tiles.
Mm-hmm.
And again, maybe difference. Yeah, maybe difference between mobile and report. If in report view, my suggestion to have to put everything in one screen, so no scrolling. Then in mobile, it's okay to have scrolling. It's of course vertical scrolling, not horizontal.
Of course, yeah. But yeah, so to kind of test out your mobile views, don't forget again that you don't have to kind of stick only to the desktop version on your laptops and everything. You can download the Power BI app for free. So just make sure to install that on your phone. And when you share reports to your workspaces, so for example, when you click File, and right here you have this Publish button, Publish to Power BI. I'm going to save the changes, for example, and right here you can choose either Zoom Factor or My Workspace. So when you're just playing around, even when you're fine-tuning a report, publish it to My Workspaces, for example, and then through the Power BI app itself, open up the report, and remember that one thing that on how you can kind of differentiate or switch between the states is that when you have your phone in a portrait view, so the vertical one, it's going to open up the mobile view. But as soon as you rotate your phone on a landscape or a horizontal view, it's going to go back to the desktop version. So this is kind of also one of those great things where you can fine tune, look at how it how it actually feels, how it looks. If you are also using your report and you're adjusting it to a tablet instead of a phone, please let us know about that as well, because that can affect the rating as well. Because for example, if you have scaled everything for a tablet and then something is open up on a phone, it could look all squeezed up, really kind of not visually appealing. So just these kind of remarks, don't forget to add them, for example, as a separate page on the reports, kind of comments, or during your video presentation. All right, next one. Can you go over the problem definition for the report once more? So yeah, the problems that are defined during the contest are not really, specifically defined as is. One thing on how you can get the problems or regarding the data sets. So if I go back to the session list, on the first week, we had a couple of sessions that are focusing on this topic. One of them definitely is, the reason why we have, let's say, session access for report creators and business community to all sessions is because for the report creators, you can also look at the business sessions and see, for example, what KPIs are usually, tracked. What are the main aspects? For example, Aldis also had, Aldis, remind me if I'm wrong, but I think it was on Thursday that you had the sessions regarding, setting targets in Power BI, for example, right here. And these sessions right here is what you can use as your basis for the report, to kind of get to understand what KPIs should I track, what kind of data should I have there. And also, like I mentioned about the data anonymization, on Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. we had a session by Aldis on data anonymization. So, as a member, sorry, not a member, but as a participant, you do have options to look at all the recordings. So simply open up the session, and right here you can see the recordings. So just go through them again, see what are the main principles. Don't forget to also listen to the Q&A, because that adds an additional layer of information, not just what was intended in the presentation itself. Anything to add, Aldis, on that regarding the problem definitions and kind of where to get the data?
Yeah, I think you need to start with some. You need to build report on something you understand and like, maybe like idea. Like in sales, let's say, I think there is three main topics that you could analyze. One is sales team performance. It's how to build like best team and get out of this team maximum, like that we are serving clients enough, that we are doing right stuff, and so on. And for this, you could take the causality graph of sales I showed on one of the presentations when you have this causality tree. So actually you could take this as a cause and effects and analyze them and try to put numbers behind them. Second is, of course, sales analysis in terms of pipeline analysis. It means how we are moving and to achieve goal. And the third is product analysis together with client analysis. So those are three areas where to build your reports.
Perfect. One source that I usually do use, for example, when I need to get some sample data, is Kaggle. Aldis, what other options do you know, for example, for open source data, kind of samples where people share their decentralized data?
Yeah, I also showed Kaggle as an example. Plus, I showed some couple synthetic data generation options. So you always could generate data yourself. I mean, you have this idea in mind. So you understand what kind of data you actually need. And so I think it's easiest way probably to generate some data.
By any chance, do you remember on which day did you have the session about it? Was
it's
it in the
that is anonymization, same session with anonymization.
Okay, so I'm gonna quickly copy the link as well, and I'm gonna post it as an announcement. So everyone who wants to look at some of the examples on how to generate synthetic data sets, feel free to look at Aldis' presentation right there. So what else we had? We answered this one.
Yeah, another source of, I think it's not really the source of data, but source of idea. KPI library. This site, when you have all the KPIs also for sales. Yeah, you could. So it's free. You just need to sign up for it for free, and yeah, it is.
This is the correct one. Yep.
Yeah, this is correct one. And then there are like 150 sales KPIs. So again, you go through the KPIs, and if you see something that is interesting for you, so you think if we can measure this and we could analyze it, or we could show it in a very nice way, so that is something, then just take it, and that is how to build your report.
All right, what do we have next? Dun, 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 dun. So is the contest open for report creators from any country or just intended for the listed countries? So no, any report creator from anywhere in the world can participate in it. The reason why in the terms and conditions there is a list of intended countries, because that's the list where we originally started from. But as a competitor, it doesn't really matter which country are you from. You're still eligible to participate in it as a report creator and win the prizes for it. So there are no restrictions when it comes to that. The only restriction when it comes to it is that report creators who are, representing themselves as a physical person, are eligible for the monetary prizes, so the cash prize, whereas the ones that are representing already, companies or something like that, they are eligible for the prizes, but they are not going to receive the cash prize. They are going to receive licenses, vouchers, and these kind of things in the same amount that, you know, the first prize is meant for. So that's just something that I wanted to point out as well, and don't get confused by it. All right, let's go next. Is hidden bookmark counted as page? One page can include 3 bookmarks. Will it be counted as 3? 1, 2, 3. It depends. I would say it depends on what you are intending to do with the bookmarks. Because, for example, if you're using the bookmarks, like Aldis, for example, had a session today where he showcased how you can use bookmarks as a visual switch. If you're doing that, in that sense, no. But if you're physically changing to a different page, then yeah, it will be considered as a page. So let's just kind of clarify it. Anything that's going to be right here as a separate page is going to be considered as a page. But oh yeah, one remark would be if you have hidden pages. So if you have hidden pages, those are not going to be counted towards the total list. So make sure that for the user experience, there's only 5 pages where you can navigate through. I hope I explained it correctly. If not, please follow up on the question. I'll try to rephrase what I said there. All right. So, don't think we have any further questions. We don't have any questions right now. One question would, or more of a discussion for all this for you, for example, where do you traditionally start out when creating the report? Do you first kind of go through thinking about what you want to create with the report, or you start off by cleaning the data and then afterwards you understand what you can create from this data? So which is the typical approach for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to start not with data. So I'm not looking at data at all before I start. I just start with thinking what would be the best thing to get out of this report, how to make a difference. And as I showed in some sessions last week, that think about what is the most efficient report. And for me, most efficient report is that report that changes behavior of the users. So, and imagine that if you create a report, what will change the behavior of the users? What kind of data? And sometimes it's there could be a very simple data, and even visualization could be poor, but because of this action, let's say action required, it's very efficient. Like if you put data, time tracking data when you come to work and when you leave work. And you say that you need to collect a certain amount of hours per week to be good employee. So you will look at this report and it will change your behavior every week. So think about how you will make an effect out of this report, and then it's easy to collect data later on. Yep, that's my approach.
Okay, and kind of to talk a little bit more about this kind of approach, one more thing I wanted to ask is, for example, the same kind of limitation that we currently have for report creators, 5 pages for the report. Is that enough, or do you think more pages are really necessary? Or if you have more than 5 pages, then you should really start to rethink what you have within the report?
I think that 5 pages is absolutely enough, even maybe too much sometimes. So you should be able to express the idea in probably in 1-2 pages, maybe not in one really, but in 1, 2, 3 pages. So to have many pages is not it's not increasing the value of the report. Again, value report is lying somewhere else. It's actually and it comes from, for me, it comes from definition of business intelligence for me. And business intelligence, it's all about what we're doing, reporting and stuff. And business intelligence is the way how we analysts are explaining how company works. So business model, the success, everything, that strategy, you name it. And so business intelligence explains it. So think about how your report explains some part of business. And it's very, especially with Power BI, it's easy to create 10 pages because you could just drag and drop, create many visuals and visuals and this and that, and it's very easy. But it's also easy to lose this main idea of how to get value.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with it more. And don't forget also, one thing that I kind of really like to emphasize when talking with customers about visuals and reporting is that you don't have to put everything in one single report. A report is meant to kind of provide answer to a certain amount of questions, not every single possible thing that could be covered in sales. So if you're focusing on, let's say, the pipeline analysis, that's what you stick with. Or the activity analysis or something like that, it can be created as a separate report. Don't try to kind of drag in, I understand that these reports are interactive. You have the ability to switch between different pages, to apply different data sets and things like that. But it's the same thing as with, it's called the choice phenomenon, right? Where you have certain things that you need to answer and you have limited amounts of options. It's really easy for everybody to just come into the room, pick what they want and leave with that. And they're completely satisfied with it. If you're providing them a report that has answers to hundreds of different questions, they're just going to get lost within it. And one thing you're going to kind of create is the effect of there not being really much of a satisfaction with the report or not a lot of usage because they don't really understand what should they be focusing on. And that's
yeah. And I'm a big fan of specialized reports, not general, like when you have everything. And then usually when I'm discussing it with the analysts and I say, how you build your report? And they answer, well, we just put everything in the report and expect that the users will find out what's useful for them. I say wrong usually. It's wrong. You need to build specialized reports that are tailored to solve some issue that you as an analyst could address and do an interpretation better than users can do. So specialized is better than general.
Definitely. And, because, for example, even this small page right here, right, I deleted some of the visuals, but the idea is what I want to focus on here is, sure, I have kind of an overview at the very beginning, right? I have all my sales reps. I have the full timeline. I could add, let's say, a combo visual here if I want to go kind of into, so I'm going to go for product line here. Again, total sales, for example. So even with something like this, right, it offers already a lot of information available for the user. But what I want to kind of achieve at this page is, for example, for the users to kind of quickly filter out their own sales results for a specific product line. So, for example, the user just chooses, themselves or other team members. The timeline adjusts. I use a particular product line. I zoom into details. And that's kind of what I probably think Aldis meant with the specialized reports as well. Have certain data for certain situations. Don't try to put, because one thing definitely I've seen as well is, like you Aldis mentioned, when report creators try to put in the whole database in the report, and then just creating multiple pages. One is about activities, one is about sales, one is about calls, something like that. And then just giving to the user, you can find everything there. But when somebody asks you, okay, but where can I find this specific number? Well, you see, it's not that simple.
Yeah, and I also discovered, discovered for myself that it's worth to put some hints and descriptions into report, because the picture is better than 1,000 words only if you know how to read it, not just better itself. So put the text, narratives, and a little bit guidance, give guidance to users, how to use it report, how to read it.
Definitely. And, one thing you can remember always is, for example, a lot of companies are still going through that period of transitioning to Power BI or these kind of interactive reports. So giving them, for example, like Aldis also had in the session before, he showcased how to create this overlay of an info button, right? So these kind of things, or just a regular text block or something like that, it can always be as the first iteration for the reports, right? So the users can get adjusted to them. They actually learn how to use them. And after a month or two, we're releasing version 2 where it doesn't have these texts anymore. You're just, utilizing the space a little bit better. So that kind of approach is completely fine. Don't, kind of, I would say, struggle against it. If the users need some additional information or guidelines or anything like that, go for it. You don't have to create a perfect report, because remember, a perfect report doesn't exist. There's always something that you can improve upon. So just create a first iteration, see what works, talk with the actual users. So what was the first feeling? Did you understand what I tried to present here, or these kind of things? Because essentially when you're trying to create a report, you're building it for your report, the actual users, not for yourself. The fact that you can navigate through it is great, but the report is meant for the actual users, not yourself. So that's something that you always need to keep in mind as well.
Yeah,
exactly. You know that we're over time, so let's wrap up.
Sure.
Yeah, Aldis, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, So just to continue what you said, that exactly that. Think about reports as applications. So you always have, you're not building application once for 100 years. Think about first version, about second version, get feedback, enhance it, and so on. And the same with reports. Don't try to build report for first time forever. So build
exactly
versions, iterations, and so on. Yep.
To kind of cover 2 more questions, these are really easy, Aivis. I'm going to quickly just cover them. So can you choose the audience for the reports? Definitely. Don't try to build generic reports that are meant for everyone. Have a specific audience for you. If it's executives, trust me, they're going to be looking at some KPIs, not just the visuals. If it's, somebody else, adjust the visuals to your audience and adjust the report to your audience. But just make sure that when you're submitting your application, like I said, do mention these facts, because they do affect how we see the reports. Because if you don't provide this information that the report is meant for executives, just seeing KPIs or main metrics are for, let's say, for example, for the actual sales rep, is not going to tell a lot. For him, the main reason is to kind of explore what he has done before. So adjust the reports specifically for target audience, and that's what Aldis mentioned as well. Specified reports for specific audiences. So that's one. And the other is, what is the optimum number of visuals per page? I would say on a single page, let's say four, maybe tops 5 visuals. That would be it. I do also count tables as visuals. So Aldis, a quick comment from you, maybe.
Yeah, maybe I'm not so strict about visuals. It depends on the task. Sometimes 1 visual is enough. Sometimes 10 also looks good.
So there you go. There is no one particular answer to this. It's as long as the report looks good and it makes sense.
Yeah, but I completely agree about audience. You must know your audience. There is no generic reports.
Yeah, so I think we covered the questions. If you do have any follow-up questions, so on the website itself, you have an email for the support team. You also have a live chat there, so just drop in your questions, messages, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So yeah, that would be from my side as well. I think Aldis, maybe any last words?
Yeah, I think we are okay. We will have another Q&A session on Friday, right?
Yeah, so there's another Q&A on Friday, and there are some not really a Q&A sessions, but more like deep dive or specific sessions for the drill down visuals as such. So if you have any questions for them, I think it was on Wednesday and Thursday, 1 or 2 sessions. So just look at those, sign up, and come here and ask your questions regarding the visuals themselves. But yeah, from our side, that would be it then today.
Yes, we're out of time as well, and thank you both, and thank you Aldis for joining us today. And last week, almost every day, I think one day you weren't there, but now, yes, all the attendees, let's say thanks to Aldis, and we will see Aldis only on Friday. So no more Aldis until Friday. Just a second, I will send you live.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank
Aldis.
you. Thanks, Aldis. It's meditating to see you show demos of analytics.
Thank you.